Hey, now it's overtime with Mike and JD, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD Oliva. Hey, JD, so we actually had so many news stories to talk about, but we had already booked Scott E. So I wanted to give him his time
Oh
because
yeah,
we had promised him his time,
absolutely.
and I want to respect him for coming on the show.
Hmm.
So instead of doing a historical deep dive, we had so many like current topics to talk about. I left a couple for overtime for this week. So occasionally we'll do stuff like that. So we didn't really have a historical topic this week. So we're gonna do some more modern stories, stuff that broke just this week. So we're gonna go ahead and get into that. But
Well,
before,
we
go ahead,
were
JD.
we were gonna talk you because you listened to JD Oliva Project from this week, and you wanted to go
Yeah,
into some narrative stuff in pro wrestling. So I was
yeah,
all geeked up to talk about story structure and like 3 acts, and then pro wrestling went cuckoo banana pants today.
yeah,
So we'll table that for another
yeah,
day,
yeah.
and we'll go into that talk later. Because I mean, how do you not talk? I mean, Jesus Christ, look what happened today. Today was
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah, it was quite the wild day. We haven't had a day like this, I think, since Will Punk, got suspended or got fired or whatever.
Got fired, yeah.
And then before that it was Vince Mc or WWE basically selling the company, and that's where we're gonna go with our first story. And we're not gonna spend a crazy amount of time on this, but Axios. Axios is a legit like news organization. And so I'm actually gonna pull this up. So if you're watching this on Patreon, we're actually going to put the unlisted YouTube link here on Patreon. We record live to YouTube, and so you can kind of watch this along with us. Um, but Axios, a legit news organization, is stating that here it is: pro wrestling magnate Vince McMahon is hinting that he wants out of the family business, according to regulatory filings tied to WWE's recent merger with the UFC. The new combined entity TKO has registered all of McMahon's shares for sale, thus enabling him to avoid the lockup period that applies to other TKO stockholders like Endeavor and Silver Lake. McMahon currently holds around 28.84 million TKO shares, which was valued at $3 billion as of yesterday's market close. So behind the scenes, TKO's first disclosed its registration plan on page. Okay. Okay. So it looks like they're giving him some flexibility, or maybe even giving TKO flexibility given the ongoing investigation, particularly given the subsequent registration statement filed last week. Doesn't include any underwriters. But McMahon says alongside two other TKO executives will be selling stockholders in this offering. That's a definitive verb tense penned by lawyers who are paid a lot of money to be accurate. So it looks like Vince McMahon may actually be finally leaving the family business, might be leaving WWE and cashing out at about $3 billion.
It kind of feels like a fuck you, doesn't it?
It feels like he came back. He damn near tanked the company. He pushes his way back in, gets people to leave the board, which that was another story that came out this week where people voluntarily left the board
That
to
was
push
obvious.
this to push this sale so that way he could cash out at $3 billion.
Now, but I mean more than that, man, because this was a guy who was like, "Oh, we're always open for business," but everybody always laughed off the idea of WWE selling until last summer when the
Yeah.
allegations hit, right? And Vince, because remember, a couple weeks before he walked, the story was he went backstage at SmackDown, looked around and said, "Fuck him,"
Yeah.
right? And that was his attitude toward this whole thing. And then a couple weeks later, he's like, "Oh, it's time for me to voluntarily step down," which was felt like bullshit at the time, and is clearly bullshit now. It reads like this guy sold his family business because the family turned his back on him, right?
Yeah.
Stephanie's out of the picture. Hunter is not part. Triple Paul is not part of the board, so he could be axed, right?
Yeah.
This really feels to me like Vince was like his final way was to ensure us because he basically went and murdered. He not like figuratively speaking murdered. He took out the people that stood against him, who wanted him gone, and that's why Nikki Khan and Triple H flipped their votes back.
Yep.
And then he set it up to sell to people that he knew would take care of him, right? Because who knows what's going to happen, realistically speaking. And it feels like I still don't think Vince McMahon will leave until like I can buy him saying he wants out, but I have a hard time seeing him not sticking his 2 cents in to everything.
It's it's hard to imagine this company without him as the head honcho. It really does. But I think the one thing that Vince likes more than WWE is money.
Yeah.
And the thought of him getting $3 billion
Mhm.
for his shares, and maybe even not selling all of them, maybe just keeping like a very, very small amount of stock to where he wouldn't have any voting power, but he would still be making money every single year. I could see that, but I could see him just cashing out and then just, figuring something else out to do, because $3 billion will change a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, but that's not him though.
No.
Right? Like he became a billionaire and worked harder. Like
Mhm.
unless okay, his dad died. His dad sold the business and then died. I think it was a year later. Right? So maybe something, maybe I don't know. I'm not saying the man's dying or anything like that, but I mean maybe something else is going on. But to me, it feels like this is a great way to just make sure that this company is belongs to him, right?
Yeah.
And cuts out the family because it feels like the people close to him kind of like he might, because again, this whole talk of all Vince demands loyalty. I mean, he didn't get the loyalty, he got mad. I mean, Stephanie is right in line with that. Like he's
Yeah.
the he like reared her to take this whole thing over, and now she's like completely out of the picture. So
Mhm.
this whole thing feels to me like maybe there's something else. I don't know. The next couple of weeks to months is going to be very, very interesting.
Well, recently his home or his offices in Stanford and his home was raided by the FBI.
It's true.
Right. So the investigation into him is still ongoing with all those sexual assault claims and those NDAs that happen. But not only that, like insider trading type stuff, like SEC type violations, which is way, like, I'll be honest, like way above my head. Like
You
I
know?
just had a small E-Trade account that had like $1,500 in it. I very clearly I'm out of my depth here, but they feel like, or somebody somewhere in the federal government feels like this guy was up to no good with his SEC filings.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. Um, if you go to jail, you can't take it with you, right?
No, but if you cash out at $3 billion, you can go to a country that doesn't have an extradition treaty
Well, I didn't think of
and
that. That's a good
just
point.
live fat and happy. He could be on one of those fucking Epstein Islands out
Yeah,
there and just
Epstein
be like
Islands.
a party animal in his 80s.
But he could do that now. He doesn't need to
Yeah.
cash out. Like he's already a billionaire, and I think I don't know if he's a liquid billionaire or not, but I know he's got the disposable income where he could go buy a private island or just go somewhere. Like he could check
Yeah.
out without
Yeah.
having. I don't know. Let's pin this and revisit it in a couple months.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be an ongoing story, and I think
I
it's
do
just
too.
it's endlessly fascinating to me, the kind of the, like, we feel like there's been this downfall, but he can cash out right now at $3 billion. So
Is there a
yeah, is
downfall?
there really a downfall? You know what I mean? Like that,
I don't
like
think
it
so.
seemed like there was one with all the allegations, but then he came right back. He gets onto mainstream TV. Nobody asks him a damn thing about it. He dodges whatever question, and the guy is the Teflon, and now he's about to cash out at $3 billion if he wants to.
And that's the thing is he didn't even sell like oh he sold his company for no he didn't sell, it's a merger,
Yeah,
no actual dollars were exchanged. So I mean like he just set himself up with Ari Emanuel, who, let's be honest, Dana White punched his wife on video and they didn't do
yeah,
anything. They're like, well, Dana's learned his lesson. What? like this is like Ari is super hands off with this stuff.
yeah,
So I mean, if he was like, I'm of the mind that if he was looking to sell, he probably could have sold to the Saudis and been like,
yeah.
peace. I'll go live in Dubai or something like that. Like I don't know. It feels like he feels like he set up the company where he can still retain control. Because I think that you talk about what Vince loves more in WWE is money. I think the one thing he loves almost more than money is control,
Power. Yeah,
power. Right? That's what always is like made that guy tick. Is just like having power over everything. And it just, when you bail, you don't have power anymore. Maybe he doesn't have a choice though. Like maybe, I don't know. This is a guy that beat the federal. He's beaten the federal government before.
Twice.
Like, twice. Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It's interesting. I wish I had a better answer.
yeah. No, it's interesting. We're going to continue to talk about it right here, and maybe not on the main show so much. But we'll probably bring it right here to overtime and keep following it. The other topic I wanted to hit was Ring of Honor. You and I and our good buddy, we had a kind of discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Our
we were
nameless
talking.
friend.
Our name, or he who shall be named, renamed. Well, how does the saying go? He who
He
shall
who shall
remain
not be
nameless.
named or
He
be
who shall
nameless.
not be named. Yeah, Voldemort.
Voldemort.
We'll call him Voldemort.
Voldemort.
But yeah,
Our old buddy,
we were
our old
yeah
buddy
we
Voldy. Yeah.
Voldy, yeah. We were chatting one day, and Ring of Honor is all over Collision, so much so that now that Punk is gone, it kind of almost seems like Collision is what Tony Khan wanted Ring of Honor to be,
100%.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it looks like Ring of Honor TV is what Dark was before he bought Ring of Honor, right? Like it has just become Ring of Honor, and now the Ring of Honor talent and their titles are all over. They're over a lot of the shows. Like Samoa Joe holding a title, just made event at Grand Slam, and we
Mm-hmm.
had the Eddie Kingston Claudio
Claudio.
match open the show for the Ring of Honor Championship.
It's going to go
So
down as one of the that match is going to go down as one of the best moments in AEW history. Eddie
yeah,
Kingston winning a quote unquote world title at Queens, right?
yeah,
That was a Ring of Honor title match. No,
dude.
I'm with you.
Yeah. So what do you, so is Ring of Honor just basically dead at this point? Like it's
I
just
think so. I think
yeah.
so. I think I think Tony bought it with the intention of saving it. Perhaps outbid Cody Rhodes, as was revealed last week.
Yeah, let's get it. So who it was the Beer City Bruiser,
Beer
right?
City Bruiser, yeah,
He did a
Milwaukee Phone.
he did an interview, and I had never heard this story before. He said that one of the suitors for Ring of Honor was actually Cody Rhodes,
Hey,
and then Tony Khan beat
we
him out.
we just got a tweet from our buddy Voldemort, a direct message from our buddy Voldemort, who goes, "You guys wondering with ROH is maybe going away?" Like he's prophetic.
Ask him if he wants to talk about it. Let's say we're live right now. I'll send him the link.
I can't because our phones are our cameras. I just have my Fitbit on.
Oh, I have Twitter up. I can send him a DM in Twitter.
You send him a DM in Twitter. Yeah, pop on. He gets Voldemort can pop on. That's just coincidence. Yeah. So the Beer City Bruiser gives an interview and he says that Cody Rhodes put in a legit offer to buy Ring of Honor. And it's funny because when Cody bailed, he's like, it's a personal issue. And we all thought it was something, no, we all thought, but a good lot of the rumor mill started that was probably something Brandy related, right? What if it was I wanted Ring of Honor and you snagged it out from underneath me?
Yeah. And that would be quite the story. I just sent John the DM. Sorry. We'll see if he responds. I just sent our buddy the DM. I just sent the buddy the DM. Did I reveal our friend?
Nope.
Who shall not be named? No.
You shall not be named.
Nope. It's a common name. The name that I just said. It's a very common name. It could be just about anybody.
Let's move away. We're sucks so bad.
I know we do.
We're terrible. So yeah,
what would have Ring of Honor even look like if Cody Rhodes would have bought it? Would it have just been his like little Billy Corgan style passion project where he was just doing Fight TV or something?
I don't know. I don't know what else it could have been because the reality is Tony Khan bought it thinking I have this relationship with WBD. I can save Ring of Honor and I can have a secondary promotion, right? I can run because remember he bought it. AEW didn't buy it. Tony Khan bought it. So, but he's got his relationship with WBD, so it's not like he probably could have bid it to someone else, but never really did. Sinclair wanted to be done with Ring of Honor. So I don't know what if Cody, in theory, like let's play this game. In theory, I don't know what he could have done with his own Ring of Honor, but maybe it'd have been somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe a syndication thing. Maybe something on Next Star programming. I have no idea what it could have been. Would it have been a better? Now here's a question: does an independently owned Ring of Honor better or worse position than it is now?
Honestly, so I think people really think that there's this big value in Ring of Honor because they get their titles and they get their logos on AEW TV. I just don't know that actually translates to them business wise, other than the pay-per-views, which are being promoted all over TV, right? But they never really got that TV deal.
No,
and Tony Khan is loyal to WBD. So if it was independently owned, could they get another television deal? Well, as we know, those things are very difficult to come by. but they were on Sinclair television for a long time. If they were bought by, say, an Anthem, could Anthem have, kept it alive and put them on Access? Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know,
I think it
Anthem.
probably. I think the same thing would have happened. I think they would have. It would have continued to die. No, like kind of like what it's doing now. So it would really take another billionaire that had TV connections to be able to make it happen. So, and I just don't know who that person would be.
No, Tony Khan is that guy. Like in reality, Dave. I disagree with Dave when he said, he goes, "There's no value in the Ring of Honor name. The name AEW is so much more value than Ring of Honor."
Yeah,
And he was right. Like, because this is
he
Dave.
is.
Like, I thought, well, why don't you just call the show AEW? What? Because in my humble opinion, you could have called it AEW Collision, or I'm sorry, you could have called Collision AEW Ring of Honor, right? And it would have been like the same thing. But I think WBD is kind of the mind that why do that? We own AEW. We don't own AEW. My speculation, but I mean, like they are in business with AEW, so why give any credence to this Ring of Honor brand? You don't need it. It doesn't help you at all. So I like, and I do truly believe that Tony, when he launched Honor Club, had this idea that he could have run his secondary promotion with all these guys, because a lot of these guys were signed to Ring of Honor deals that could have functioned as Ring of Honor. But it just, dude, I can't, and I'm a fan. I can't pay $10 a month to watch a show that just feels like it's operating in a vacuum. And I liked the shows that were in Orlando. Those were a lot more fun than This Is Dark. And I didn't watch Dark when it was on AEW as it was, or when it was on YouTube as it was. Now you're asking me to pay $10 a month to watch Dark when I don't get the pay-per-views on top of it. Like, again, I would willing to bet Tony Khan made his money back on running pay-per-views with Ring of Honor just in the last year plus. But at the moment, like, I just don't see where you can go with Ring of Honor if your television partner in WBD doesn't want it. Because again, WBD had them think about it. WBD had them take both Dark and Dark Elevation off of YouTube because they wanted exclusive rights to have all the AEW footage. Now, again, AEW does not own Ring of Honor. Tony Khan owns Ring of Honor on paper. But what value is that really? Basically the only value is the library. And now maybe if this Max thing does come to pass, which it seems like it will, maybe you put the Ring of Honor, the catalog on Max, right? Or somehow fold the AEW history into the Ring of Honor history. You could kind of use all, like, okay, here's comic book guy thinking going, because like the continuity essentially splits from AEW and Ring of Honor at All In. You can have the two promotions kind of working simultaneously. So I mean, like, that's a possibility, right? Like you could have that. You could have Ring of Honor as its own, as like you could have had Ring of Honor as its own thing, but now you can't. So why not just kind of fold them into each other? If they were to do that and just kind of suck it back in, my hope for now would be that you keep the Ring of Honor title belt active, right? I don't think you need a TV title. I don't think you need the 6-man or the tag team. The pure title is kind of cool. It has an identity of its own. But I think that reality, the only belt that I would want to see stay active, at least for a little while, would be the Ring of Honor world title that Eddie Kingston has right now. Because you could have that. You could just have you could actually treat the Ring of Honor belt as an AEW title belt, right? Like this title, this match is for the Ring of Honor belt, and they would have the old Ring of Honor rules with the 20 count and all that stuff. And then maybe Mike, let me know what you think about this. Maybe you eventually do a Ring of Honor title match with the AEW world title. You merge those titles together, and then you kind of like what WWE does, where you adopt the Ring of Honor lineage into the AEW lineage. So it makes it seem a little bit more prestigious. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing stuff right now. Like,
Yeah.
I
personally, and thank you for covering. Dude, my commander just called me about my trip next week. I gotta give him a call back as soon as we're done here. So,
Mike threw me out there as he goes, just keep going. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I went to my whole pitch.
Yeah. So me personally, in 2023, heading into 2024, I just don't see the value of the Ring of Honor logos on those titles being on AEW TV. I think they should merge the trios titles, merge the Ring of Honor TV title with the TNT title. shit can the pure title. I never, other than Jonathan Gresham, I'm not like I know Shibata has it, but I just don't care about it personally. I just don't see a ton of value in it. And then eventually merge the Ring of Honor title with the AEW World title. I just don't see the need to have the Ring of Honor logos on the stuff, because what they're doing now is literally just AEW Dark. It is not a separate company. It's not a separate promotion. There's no separate contracts. You're not killing a promotion when you do that. You tried to bring it back. You tried to revive it, but you couldn't get the TV deal. So I think Dave is absolutely correct when he says that when you're doing a Ring of Honor house show, or a Ring of Honor live event, you're going to get more people on there if you just throw the 3 letters AEW in front of it. And now that we got 12 pay-per-views coming to AEW, whether they're swallowed in by Max or not, that remains to be seen. And then you got all these big specials. You got Battle of the Belts. There's just no need for Ring of Honor. No one is clamoring for more wrestling on TV. It's just not happening. And so I think it's time to just cut bait. You got the library. Maybe if you work a deal out where you can use the library on Max or whatever, and you have a lot of your historical stuff on there, like kind of like what Impact does with their TNA library. They kind of go back to it all the time, and they do good numbers on YouTube with their classic stuff. That you can make money that way. You can, when you go towards a fast network, which I think they're looking at possibly doing, the 24/7 streaming network of like that Impact has on Pluto. If they're looking at doing something like that, you can incorporate the old Ring of Honor classics into like an AEW channel, right? I think there's still value in the library. I just don't see value in the Ring of Honor property as a whole right now.
Like if you could take Collision and like turn it into the Ring of Honor show where you did like, I'm just pontificating here. Like if you did like a true like if you did a true brand split where like Collision would have the Ring of Honor belts and Dynamite would have the AEW belts, maybe you could do that. You certainly have enough people under contract where you could do that. But again, then you're splitting your promotion in half. And I don't think that's helped AEW in this time. I like that we can utilize more guys on different shows, but
Yeah.
I don't think you need that many belts between the two companies. I really don't. Like I think that Tony did a valiant thing trying to save the brand, because realistically it was just going to be sold to Vince otherwise, and then nothing would have happened with it at all. Then it's just another, and they didn't even care about their historical content anymore now that it's on Peacock. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it disappoints me because I love Ring of Honor, and I think that eventually you got to merge those titles together, and then like you can adopt the history into your own, kind of like what WCW did with the NWA lineage, right? Because they claim the NWA lineage, and WWE at times claims the WCW lineage, and sometimes they like to throw back and claim that their lineage is the NWA lineage, and you can trace it. Like if you wanted to, you could justify it. So maybe do that with AEW and Ring of Honor. I don't love it, but I don't know what other choice you have right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think say they did work out a deal with WBD and they wanted to start calling Collision Ring of Honor Collision. I think you get like a 30 to 40% drop in viewership right away, because people just stop seeing stop seeing those 3 letters. The letters AEW are important. They absolutely are important.
My idea was calling the show Ring of Honor. It'd be All Elite Wrestling, like AEW Collision. It'd be AEW Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a solution, but WBD did, and I'm sure that came up in a meeting. But WB doesn't seem to want anything to do with the ROH brand, because again, what is the ROH brand? It's a minor league brand.
Yeah, and it never did well on television, right?
No.
It never did well on pay-per-view. They had they had an HD Net show, they had a Destination America show. It never really did anything, even at their peak. And some people will say that it did pretty good numbers on syndication. Those numbers are kind of like foggy because I think in Fresno, my friends are like, well, I want to watch Ring of Honor, but the fucking thing comes on at like Saturday night at 1 a.m, right? And so it gets to be difficult. So people that were watching, whatever was on Fox that night, would leave their TV on, and then Ring of Honor would get those numbers. So there wasn't great brand awareness, and it was never really a coveted brand in the TV space. TV executives were not clamoring to get it. It's not different than it's different than TNA, because TNA was a big name brand, but they killed their own brand, right? Like there was such this big downfall to where it became like nobody fucking wanted that thing. So, but with Ring of Honor, they just like it just never really popped anywhere. So it was not really anything that people were looking for.
They had the Madison Square Garden show that was basically sold on the back of the Elite who weren't there because AEW started. Right. And that was kind of when you were gone, I kind of pontificate because you could adopt the Ring of Honor history into the AEW history, and like as a comic guy, you can use the continuity split being all in. Right, all in would have been that moment, and then you could bring it back together. I don't know. I think about these things. I just don't know what they can do. Right, I wouldn't mind seeing the AEW, the Ring of Honor belt stay active for a while, and it can be like it's. I mean, because what's the difference between a Ring of Honor belt and an All Atlantic belt? It's all about how you present the thing. I mean, belts are belts,
Yeah.
right? But I don't know. I don't think it's great, to be honest with you. Either any way you look at it.
Well, hey guys, thank you everybody for listening to mostly JD on this episode. I do have to go, so I'll be off the show next week, most likely. I don't know what my schedule's gonna look like, but I gotta call my boss right back.
I gotta find a co-host for next week.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Well, I have an idea for you. We just talked to him tonight, so I think he'd love to do it. But yeah, he was on the show tonight, and I think he would be honored if he filled in. But I'll let you figure that part out. Hey guys, that's gonna do it for us this week. I will be back this weekend with Brace for Impact. So if you're one of my Impact fans, thank you very much. And we also did get some suggestions going forward. So one of them was Ring of Honor CCW, which I'm not really familiar with. So I'm actually, if you're listening to this, Darren Adaza, if you have a playlist that I can just get on YouTube, that'd be great. Send us that. And then there was another idea that Andre Carter dropped in, and so I think we could probably do that one in a little bit later. And then if there's other more historical topics you want us to hit, just please let us know. Drop us a line on Patreon. But that's going to do it for us this week. And until next time, mahalo.